Please.
Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, Dynasty League, PPR League, IDP League, even Daily Fantasy Football League. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's going on, y'all? This is the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Austin, and I'm your host. We're going live 7 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday, every single weekday, just bringing you that fantasy football coverage. Hey, make sure to join the Patreon. We just started the Patreon up this week. Today I'm going over my rookie radar, and we're previewing the Jets offense also. So yeah, join the Patreon if you're liking what we're doing. And then if you want to go down on that scrolly thing on the bottom right here, streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network. You can give a donation or give a tip if you feel so generous. No pressure there at all. But yeah, I'm here to give you that fantasy football coverage today. Gonna start with some fantasy explosions that happened this weekend. Obviously, week one was absolutely crazy, and I want to start with Mr. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had an absolutely insane game. 11 receptions for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also grabbed 15 targets with the next best receiver, Jalen Waddle, only having 5. Let's pull this graphic up right here. This kind of sums up what happened this week, and it was absolutely insane. So these are 9 of the top receivers in the league right here, all combined for 207 yards and 0 touchdowns, while Tyreek had the 215 and 2. So obviously these guys need to step it up. If these guys are on your fantasy team, Jamar Chase was my 4th pick. I'm sorry for y'all. But yeah, those guys need to step it up. Tyreek Hill, is he the best guy in the league? He might honestly be already. His closing speed on the ball was just ridiculous during this game. And Mike McDaniel was just scheming him open every single time. It's just crazy to see because they do have that dual wide receiver threat in Tyreek and Waddle. And it feels like Tyreek gets so much more attention from the defense and then also just from his quarterback, grabbing those 15 targets while Waddle only has 5. That's absolutely insane to me, for sure. And that's definitely a product of the Mike McDaniel offense. One thing I did want to show y'all, which I thought was really, really funny, was this little Mike McDaniel comparison. So just tell me what y'all think. Is that the same guy? Logic? Logic and Mike McDaniel? I'm pretty sure that's the same guy. But yeah, all jokes aside, Tyreek had an absolutely crazy day. He said he's going for 2,000 yards, and I might just believe it. 44.5 fantasy points is nothing to scoff at, and I'm excited to see what he does in week 2. Absolutely. Next guy, we're talking about Aaron Jones. Had a pretty big day. You know, he doesn't get to play the Bears every single week, but whenever he does, he seems to absolutely crush them. And I love watching it. He was running all over the field and scored a total of 26.7 fantasy points this week. Absolutely monster day, but kind of weird. He only carried the ball 9 times and only had 2 catches. So 11 total touches, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. but the way his receiving and rushing yards were like split up, it looks like he had like just like an above average day. Only had 4 targets in the game. So we'll see how he pans out in this Jordan Love offense. It's definitely going to be interesting to see. And AJ Dillon's going to be biting into his carries. Obviously, Christian Watson was out, but I think even with Christian Watson being out, um, it's hard to see him not being at least the wide receiver 2 in that offense. Probably at all times, just with his ability to be that check down back and make moves in the open field. He looks so explosive on all his runs. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was watching Red Zone all day, so I wasn't like tapped in completely on all of the games, but definitely went back and watched some film to make sure I'm like staying up to date, tapped in and stuff. But I know the first time that I saw him run, he looked more explosive than I ever seen him look. So that's a great sign for a Packers offense looking for an offensive leader if Jordan Love's not ready to be that guy. But I guess we'll see possibly if he is ready to be that guy. Um, I think it's also worth noting that Aaron Jones had the most rushing yards and the most receiving yards for his team this game with the 41 and the 86. So maybe the other guys need to start making some plays as well. Going to our next dude, um, just Tyreek Hill's quarterback had an absolutely monster day. Tua Tagovailoa. I grabbed this tweet off of the ESPN stats and info page. Apparently, no quarterback wide receiver duo besides Dan Marino, and I've never heard of this guy, but his name is Irving Fryer. For all y'all Dolphins fans, maybe y'all know who Irving Fryer is. I gotta ask my Dolphins fan roommates if they know who that is, because I definitely didn't know. But apparently he had a day where Dan Marino went for 450 and Irving Fryer went for 200, and it hasn't happened until on Sunday, which is obviously so ridiculous. Tyreek Hill looked like he was open every single play, in my opinion. Tua absolutely showed some elite ball placement in that Michael McDaniels offense. The deep ball looked pretty good. Obviously, coming off the concussion, he silenced a lot of his haters, which I'm sure he loved to do. um, yeah, super crazy. Miami actually gave up 0 sacks during the game. I am kind of a big proponent. If Tua gets hit one more time, he might be out the league, or God willing, not on a stretcher. But his line did a good job to protect him. I've also heard that the Dolphins haven't really invested anything in their offensive line, and they're going up against 2 elite pass rushers in Khalil Mack and Bosa. So if they're able to stop them, I don't know who they're not going to be able to stop. But I think the way to stop Tua is going to have to be with pressure. Tua did end up as QB1 in fantasy this week with 27.14 fantasy points, which is obviously solid, especially for the ADP that you got him at. Right here, he also completed at least 3 passes to 5 different guys on his team. So he was really spreading that love. This could definitely be an explosive offense coming down the stretch, and we'll just see what happens. He had an absolutely crazy touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill right over the defender in the third, on third down with 1 minute and 45 seconds left. It was absolutely stupid. Tyreek making it look easy out there. You love to see it. We're going to take a quick break right here, and we will be back for my former Scrubs segment. We'll be right back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are back. back. Talking about former scrubs, guys who are not that good last year, but might have a chance to do something this year. First guy we're gonna talk about here is one Macklin Jones, who absolutely had a day versus the. Oh my goodness, let's get that out of here. Get Mac Jones up here. Yeah, Mac Jones had an absolute day. Um, Not to be understated, finished as the quarterback two this week with 24.14 fantasy points. Which, it's kind of crazy. Like Tyreek having the 44, um, being the guy who scored the most points in fantasy this week. Obviously, there were some receivers like Justin Jefferson and stuff that put up a ton of points just because of all the receptions that they got. But I think it's definitely interesting to see from your quarterback position that even when you have a day, when you have the 300 yards and three touchdowns, and you throw the ball 54 times, you only still put up 24 points. So definitely keep that in mind for like value of your quarterback. Um, Seems like it was probably okay this year to wait on a guy if guys like Mac Jones, Tua, unsung heroes, who you can grab, who you could have grabbed in like the 11th, 12th round, can get the job done like this, then a lot of fantasy teams are looking sweet if you went with that running back or wide receiver early and then waited on your quarterback. But yeah, Mac Jones, just a nice 300 yard, three touchdowns, one interception to Slay. And apparently you're not Slay, Darius Slay, but anybody in the media is not allowed to call him Darius, apparently. Um, that's a rule that he has. If you look it up, you'll see a video. There's a nice video compilation. Just look up, I have it written down here. It's not Darius, it's Slay. Just look up not Darius, it's Slay. And in a ton of press conference, they'll be like, hey Darius, that play was sweet. Hey Darius, and then he'll just interrupt them in the middle of the sentence, like, nah, it's not Darius, it's Slay. So, but yeah, Slay had a crazy pick six, and it was absolutely not Mac Jones' fault at all. It bounced off his receiver, and Slay took it in for the score. Um, yeah, if I'm playing with Mac Jones in Madden, I think this year he needs to get that set feet lead ability. He was just looking like in the pocket so smooth. He wasn't like bouncing around, didn't have any happy feet or anything. Was just standing in the pocket, throwing absolute rifles into the end zone, over the defenders, throwing over in between and all around the Eagles defense, the Eagles secondary, which is obviously a sweet secondary. Um, in the 25-20 loss that they suffered, he actually threw a dime on a fourth down on the left sideline that should have been completed, and the receiver just couldn't get his feet in. But I really like what I saw from Mac Jones this week one, and we'll see if we can get some more. I'm not super hopeful, but especially with Rodgers going down, maybe the Patriots have a chance to make a little run in that division. We shall see. Next guy, I'm gonna talk about the guy that nobody wants to talk about ever, and that is my hometown hero, Russell Wilson. I'm being completely honest with you guys when I say that I spent like at least 15 to 20 minutes looking for a solid graphic. That's obviously that someone had created on Twitter or something. We're going for Twitter, Instagram, little thing about Russell Wilson, so I could drop some knowledge on you guys. There was not one singular thing, and then I was going to YouTube to look to like see his week one highlights because I just wanted to get some eyes on film because like I said I was watching Red Zone the entire day. Nobody posted any Russell Wilson highlights on YouTube, and then also nobody posted any graphics or anything hyping Russell Wilson up after coming back and having a way better game and a way better performance than he did any performance that I saw last year, truthfully. And that was something that I found really surprising. He went 27 for 34 for 177 yards and two touchdowns, putting up 15.18 fantasy points. For Russ, that is a solid day. With his wide receiver one out, I will take that every single time. When I was watching him, he just looked like way more powerful and way faster, and that's definitely a good sign for Broncos fans all around. And the the loss was pretty much not at all his fault. Like, a little bit his fault because couldn't score more points and stuff. But coming down the stretch, it was really their defense that couldn't get stops, and Jimmy just kept finding ways to get it done. Obviously, they had that ridiculous penalty right there at the end. I believe that was Kareem Jackson came up and made a helmet-to-helmet contact. If that doesn't happen, I think Russ gets a chance. And the way he was playing, I think he might have just got it done completely. Um, but yeah, like I said, running the ball, he looked good. He said in the offseason that he was putting in a lot of work um, to just be better. Because what was it last year? They were talking heavily about how he had more toilets in his house than touchdowns thrown during the entire season, and that's just completely unacceptable. If you look up Russell Wilson's house, that thing is absolutely massive, and he does not deserve to get that type of money and all this beautiful treatment and all the stuff that he has in his life and not be a good quarterback until he's done playing. He can just retire if he doesn't want to be good. But it looks like this year he actually does want to be good. Got the Sean Payton behind him, and I don't know. Hopefully he's good. He had a sweet scramble to the right and then launched a rocket to Cortland Sutton in the second quarter. Um, but yeah, like I said, I saw all this stuff live and I searched for the stuff on YouTube and absolutely could not find one thing about Russell Wilson week one. So somebody post that, please. So everybody, all the Broncos fans can watch it. I don't even know if Broncos fans are Russell Wilson fans anymore, but definitely think he looked better. I'll consider him as a former scrub right now. Was a scrub, but no longer is. My next guy that I want to hit, and unfortunately he did not get a graphic because it was. I thought we might get copyrighted or something. But I'm talking about Hayden Hurst. Let's go back to the one person. Yeah, my boy Hayden Hurst. Um, Last year Hayden Hurst was pretty good, like relatively. So I don't know why I'm like calling him a former scrub, but like 2020 he was much better. So I guess his 2021 season could be considered a former, a scrubby type season. Had 52 receptions for 414 yards and only 2 touchdowns with Mr. Joe Burrow. And in 2020, he went for 56 receptions, 571 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So definitely a bit of a drop off. But he impressed week one. He definitely impressed. I saw him all over the field. Obviously, the Panthers were down in that game, so they had to start throwing a lot more. And he was the beneficiary of those targets. Ended up with 7 targets, 5 catches, 41 yards, and Bryce Young's first touchdown. Everybody was mad at the guy because he launched the ball into the stands, and everyone is a Bryce Young stan, and I guess people want to auction that ball off, or maybe Bryce Young wants the ball. But yeah, people were up in arms about that. It was actually crazy to see how mad people were that he threw Bryce Young's first touchdown pass up in the stands. But apparently, he had tweeted, and this was the graphic that I was going to show, but I didn't want to get the copyright. But he showed that the fans actually threw the first touchdown ball back, so he was able to grab. Bryce Young was able to grab it and keep it for himself, I'm sure. But Hayden Hurst put up 15.1 fantasy points, top 3 fantasy tight end this week. Crazy thing is the number 1 fantasy tight end finished with 16.5, and that was Hunter Henry, Mac Jones' beneficiary. So yeah, very low scoring tight end week without Kelsey, obviously. We'll see if that changes. We'll see how long Kelsey's out, but that's why it's so important to have like a decent tight end that can put up at least like 10 points. So if you're going up against like a Kelsey or someone who actually knows what they're doing, you can keep up. It's hard to keep up in the tight end position, especially if you waited. Yeah, I saw a lot of tight ends not do anything for fantasy teams all week. But yeah, talking about Bryce Young and Hayden Hurst, Bryce Young looked real good. I thought, at least at the beginning of the game, he looked like he was like struggling a little bit as they were starting to get down. and the defense just automatically knew that they were going to be passing. But at the beginning, when they were still respecting the run, he was throwing some lasers, absolute dots in the middle of the field, and that was good to see from the first pick. Hayden Hurst played 53% of the snaps, which was the most out of any other tight end. They also have Tommy Tremble and one other guy who played like 10 snaps. So he does get the lion's share of the snaps. And I'm thinking that he's going to be one of the top targets for this Panthers offense. Seems like he's got definitely some reliable hands. They still got Adam Thielen and Mingo also look pretty solid, but there's no way that Hayden Hurst is not going to be getting his targets in this offense. Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see what happens for the Panthers and Bryce Young and Hayden Hurst. We are going to take a small break again, and then we will be right back to talk about Monday Night Football. And because we didn't do a show yesterday, I spent all Monday Night Football just doing a whole bunch of notes and a whole recap. So yeah, come back and we'll talk about that. Yes, sir. We are back again. Back again, talking about Monday Night Football recap. Let's get the graphic up here. Where are we at? Yeah, let me know if y'all think Mike McDaniel looks like Logic, because I absolutely cannot get that graphic out of my head. I think they could be brothers, or maybe that's Logic's dad. Maybe Mike. I want to hear Mike McDaniel freestyle or something. We gotta get that on and poppin'. Show, please. Yes, sir. Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers comes out carrying the American flag. 3 rushing attempts, and then tears his Achilles. I'm pretty sure he tore his Achilles. Everybody else is pretty sure he tore his Achilles, and that's just like a really sad thing to see in New York. I was really getting excited about the Jet Life Stadium hype, about the Sauce Gardner, Aaron Rodgers duo, offense to defense, and they're gonna put up a lot of points. And bro just immediately gets hurt, which I know was just shattering to all Jets fans around the world, because now your starting quarterback is Mr. Zach Wilson. And maybe the worst part is that Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old now. Like, this might just finish his whole career. Like, his whole career might be completely finished after this Achilles tear, which is really sad. He was carted out, ruled questionable initially, and then ruled out. Got an X-ray, and it was just all bad. You hate to see it, man. One thing that we did like to see was a Breece Hall absolutely massive run. Got it at like the 10-yard line, took it all the way down to the opposite 20, but he was ahead of everybody. And this is a guy with absolute home run speed. If you watch his college highlights or even last year's highlights, when he gets going and he's at least like a couple yards ahead of everybody, he should not be getting caught, and the safety ended up catching him. So we definitely don't love to see that. We don't know really where like his knee is after that ACL tear, obviously. So we shall see. And they obviously brought Dalvin Cook in because they thought Breece Hall was gonna start slow, and that was like the rumors around camp. So maybe he's just working that knee back to full strength, and hopefully by the end of the year he won't be getting caught in situations like that, because he's way too fast to be getting caught, especially by safety. Maybe a corner can go get him, but I don't think any safeties in the league should be getting Brees Hall if he already has steps on him. Garrett Wilson. It's really disappointing to see. Garrett Wilson was another. He was my second round pick, top pick for me, and obviously I picked him because he was in this Rodgers offense, thinking that he's in a great spot, and he just has a propensity to disappear when Zach Wilson plays. And I mean, I should have put the little note in because I was taking the notes and then saw Zach Wilson was playing, and then I wanted to see if I could say anything good about Zach Wilson, and the only thing that I could come up with is trash, and then I put his comparison as Baker Mayfield. I really think Zach and Baker are the same guy, and they just are caring way too much about the press or whatever it may be, not caring enough about football, and you just absolutely hate to see it. And I know that Garrett Wilson is gonna, be hurting fantasy wise because Zach Wilson's in, so I'm in shambles, absolute shambles. Lazard's gonna be down bad as well. He's gonna be down bad with the rest of the. Cole Hartman didn't even receive a target all game, and it's just not good to see Zach Wilson in that offense. Their defense obviously picked them up, had the walk-off on the punt return, which was cool, but I'm not excited to see what Zach Wilson does with the Jets, and there are reports from Underdog that the Jets are shopping around to reach out to veteran quarterbacks to come through and take Zach Wilson's spot because it's really not his spot to have. On the other side of the ball, Josh Allen, man. Josh Allen is still the most athletic quarterback that I've ever seen, biggest arm that I've ever seen, has, all the ability in the world, but he's lacking weapons right now. Gabe Davis, getting our first look at Gabe Davis, 24-year-old Gabe Davis, who should still be fast, should still be getting separation, should still be a good wide receiver, and I personally haven't seen it for a really long time. Since he caught that deep touchdown pass in the playoffs, or the game where he had the 3 touchdowns, I haven't seen Gabe Davis do anything relevant for a really long time, and it's unfortunate for Josh Allen because now he feels that he has to just force balls into spots that they obviously don't fit, and if he's not doing that, he's force feeding Stephon Diggs, who had a ton of targets yesterday, definitely more than anybody else. And I'm pretty sure that James Cook was the second in targets for their team, meaning he was checking it down a lot. And if he wasn't checking it down, he was throwing a bad decision throw, which was just terrible. But as far as James Cook is concerned, a lot of people spent their fantasy picks on him. He definitely gets most of the snaps, lion's share of the snaps. We didn't see too much Latavius Murray, didn't see too much Damian Harris in the game, which is great for James Cook owners. Last year, James Cook ran for 6 yards per carry, which is extremely good. The guy that they really need to step up is Dalton Kincaid, and he looked like he was going to do that. He's someone I spent a late round pick on, and I think he's going to start over Njoku for me now. No question, just because he's in a better situation if Gabe Davis isn't going to step up, and James Cook's not going to be great, then Kincaid should probably end up being the wide receiver 2 for this offense, an explosive offense, hopefully, with an amazing quarterback. I did also learn a couple cool things while I was watching Monday Night Football. So apparently you can't challenge forward progress. So Josh Allen got stopped up right near the first down, and the Bills wanted to challenge it, and the refs went over to the coach and said, yeah, you can't challenge forward progress. Like that's not a thing in the league. So that's a cool thing to know. And then also when you're like coming up towards the line of scrimmage and you're about to throw the ball, you're about to throw it. Apparently, your entire body and the ball have to be in front of the line of scrimmage for it to be an illegal forward pass, which I thought was interesting. So like the way it was described is the back heel needs to be um, like the back heel is what they watch for when deciding if it's an illegal forward pass or not. So that's pretty cool. Um, Love to learn something new every day. But that game was absolutely crazy. Another big takeaway: if you have the Jets defense, you are good to go. That unit is stacked. D line, linebackers, safeties, and corners. They don't have too many holes, and that's why it's so sad to see my boy Aaron Rodgers go down because they really probably had a chance to go for it all. I wonder if the predictionist on Hard Knocks was predicting this injury. Probably not, if I had to guess. But yeah, that's so unfortunate to see, man. Um, we hope he gets better, but it's not looking good right now. It's definitely not looking good. So in conclusion here, Jets offense probably in shambles. At least everybody's stock is going down from a wide receiver standpoint now that Zach Wilson is playing. Um, Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall are already sharing time, so that is just not going to bode well for um, fantasy managers at all. And then on the Bills side, I don't know why I'm looking at these notes so much. On the Bills side, if Josh Allen doesn't get another weapon or someone doesn't come alive and show that they can play some football, then they might be down bad as well, especially in the division. Josh Allen's gonna make his plays where he makes his plays. He's a great player, but they need somebody to step up. Um, Absolutely. We're gonna take another break real quick, and then when we come back, we're gonna be talking about the most important segment of the day, some fantasy strategy, in-season fantasy strategy, because people who had Rodgers, people who had, um, the J.K. Dobbins, people whose team is in shambles like mine after Garrett Wilson's not gonna perform nearly as well because Zach Wilson. Um, we're gonna talk about how we get through this as a team and together and still find a way to win our league because we need that money, man. All right, we'll be right back. What's up, y'all? We are back, and we're gonna be talking in-season fantasy strategy now. In-season fantasy strategy for all the people who are down bad as me. At least one of my teams is definitely down bad. And I made a major mistake not start. I literally talked about Tyler Algier last week. I talked about Tyler Algier, and then I didn't end up going with him. I don't know what I was thinking. I was literally like, oh, two-headed monster, Bijan, Tyler. Both of them might get in the end zone. Of course, Tyler Algier ends up having 2 touchdowns, and I don't start him. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's why we have to be paying attention to these league-winning strategies. Um, within the season, and the most important thing is to pay attention to the waiver wire. I feel like a lot of people don't know when the waiver wire goes live. So basically, so like on a Tuesday night, like tonight, um, you need to get this is when you need to get your waiver wire picks in. First thing you need to do is check the waiver order. If you're in the ESPN, a standard fantasy league, then your waiver order is posted, very clearly for you to see. I mean, run through however many teams are in your league, and that's your priority. So if number one wants to pick up, the guy from the Rams, Nakua, who had an absolutely crazy week with 15 targets, he's going to be taken off immediately, um, probably by the number one guy. Stop. Um, yeah, he's going to be gone immediately. So, and probably by the number one guy. If you're number 12, like, you're not getting that guy. You got to go deeper, find a better guy to get. That you may actually have. So the first thing you need to do is put the claim in, and then you also need to have priority to acquire that guy onto your team. And you have to know that for me, I'm in Mountain Time, so at 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. That's the information on ESPN that I was shown. That's when the waiver order or the waiver wire like sets, and people are put on the team, and then everybody else is dropped 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. So if you're a real night owl, a real demon, then you're up at 3 a.m. You can absolutely pick up those guys immediately, but you have to know that anybody that got dropped, they're going to be claimed by waivers. Anybody who didn't get claimed by waivers is now on ad drop. Um, and then obviously the waiver order is set in reverse order based on your standings. So if you're doing really good, you're going to be at the bottom, and if you're doing really bad, you're going to be at the top. So it kind of evens it out for all the people who are breaking out. The bad team should be able to get those players. So if you are a bad team, there's no reason to keep being a bad team. Go ahead and hit the waiver wire, peep the waiver order, see where you stand. And know that it resets every single week, so you might as well just try to pick a couple guys up that you think will help your team. Number 2 for me is probably the most important, the thing that I really rely heavily on, and I probably save at least 2 bench spots for stashes, especially early in the year, just because so many injuries are going to happen. There's going to be a ton of injuries week 2, week 3, and these guys that you never heard of are going to become factors in the game. So I'm trying to find guys that I like to stash, that could come in and make a difference. The guy I'm stashing right now the most is playoff Lenny, free agent playoff Lenny, and everybody is probably like, "What are you doing? Bro's not even on a team." And I don't really care. There's a challenge going apparently right now. If by week 5 Leonard Fournette does not have a team, then I have to buy his jersey and burn it. But I think I'm good on that. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some running back that goes down. Obviously, J.K. went down this week, but apparently the Ravens said that they're going to stay in-house for the running back situation. They still got Gus Edwards. They still got Justice Hill, so they feel like they're taken care of. But I promise, some running back, and I'm not gonna say any names because I don't want to wish any bad luck on myself or others. But some running backs going down, and then Leonard Fournette is coming in to take that spot before week 5. So definitely stay up to date on that challenge that's happening. But he's somebody that I'm stashing. Another guy that I'm stashing is Jameson Williams on the Lions. He comes back week 7. He's got the 6-game suspension for gambling. such a ridiculous suspension in my opinion. I think you just let the guys do whatever they want. That's just me personally, but definitely find a guy to stash. And I think the second most important part is to make sure that he doesn't fall in line with popular opinion. Because popular opinion, you see it in sports betting constantly. You still see it in fantasy all the time. Um, Take Tyler Algier for example. Popular opinion is usually not correct. So don't be just another sheep and follow what everybody else is doing. Go your own route. Find a guy that you like. Fantasy is like a closed stock market, and you definitely have to realize that it's gonna go up and down all the time, and you got to get in when it's good. And that brings me to my third point, which is to buy low, sell high on your guys. Don't be afraid to shop trade options. I know y'all are not afraid. Y'all be in the DMs, or you'll be at the bar shooting shots, but you won't put shots up in your fantasy football league. Like, I promise, if you put out 10 trades today, maybe one will go through. And maybe if not today, put up 10 more tomorrow that are solid trades that are plus value for you. Maybe one goes through. You know, Wayne Gretzky miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Very important. Guys that I'm looking to trade right now is someone like Ayuk. I'm shopping him right now. Got no fish on the line, but maybe just need a second week to really show everybody that he is that guy, and he can be the wide receiver one for one of the best teams in the league. And then maybe I can pull in a nice, great player that can make a difference on my team. But I'm always thinking buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. I'm still high on a guy like Cooper Kupp, just because of the last 2 years he's averaged 24 points per game in standard PPR leagues. Still pretty high on Jonathan Taylor if he's one, either able to find a trade, or two, just going to come back and be part of a nice dynamic backfield. Anthony Richardson looked real good, at least athletically, in week one. I thought he played well. He finished as like quarterback 4 or 5. So that'll only be great for somebody like Jonathan Taylor. Nakua, like we were just talking about on the Rams, he's going to be someone that maybe you can pick him up and then trade him, because somebody's might be hurting a wide receiver, went with too many running backs. You got to be creative here. Like I said, you're shooting shots just like you're shooting shots in the DM, just like you're shooting shots at the bar. You got to shoot shots in the trade market for fantasy. Make sure you're shooting your shots constantly. But yeah, it looks like we're gonna wrap up a little early today. Well, we went through 4 segments, but just not too long. Just making sure we're staying solid, not doing too much. I appreciate y'all watching if you stayed till the end. Thank you for that. Shout out GSMC Sports Network, and I appreciate all y'all. Thank you so much.